Repairing the cracks COVID caused in your relationship. Now, 2 years of the pandemic left many people in a constant state of overwhelm, straining many relationships to their breaking point. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Erin LeBeau.
And I'm Tamsin Fidel. Well, according to the Indiana University Kinsey Institute, 63% of couples say the pandemic really is stressing out their family. Psychologist Dr. Lynyetta Willis is here to help couples heal emotionally. And Doctor, good to see you. I think that everyone could use a little bit of help when it comes to love and relationships, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Well, let's start off here. Can you explain to us how COVID is doing so much harm to relationships out there?
Absolutely. So COVID is hurting relationships in two major ways. The first way is it's limiting natural outlets. So things like date night and even spending time apart by going to the gym or work or hanging out with friends. Those were things that were used to relieve tension within relationships. And that's been taken away. So now just tension is building in relationships, leaving many couples at a loss for how to productively relieve that pressure. And also, the pandemic has created new pressures and problems which weigh heavily on the relationship. Anxiety and depression are on the rise, and issues related to finances, health, kids' education. All of those things make it difficult for couples to really prioritize their connection.
Well, speaking of connections, you say some couples get stuck in what's being called stable misery. Can you explain what that is and what are some of the signs?
Yes. So stable misery is a term that I use often to describe that place we sometimes find ourselves as parents or partners where there's not an active crisis in the relationship, but you find yourself in a perpetual state of unfulfillment. Or you realize that you and your partner, let's say, are repeating the same unhelpful patterns again and again, and it's exhausting. Things are stable, but they're consistently miserable and unfulfilling. Okay. And there are 5 warning signs. The first one, I'm sorry.
No, let's talk about those.
The first one is you and your partner went from soulmates to roommates, right? That connection you once had, it seems to have faded and you're not sure why. Okay. The second one is your relationship, it feels bearable but unfulfilling. Again, nothing's on fire, but you begin to ask questions like, do we really want to spend the rest of our lives together like this? And number 3, simple talks often lead to a fight or a debate, right? This goes back to the lack of tension relief. So what starts out as a laser beam comment about dirty dishes in the sink or unfolded laundry turns into an atom bomb argument. Number 4, you feel like you're nailing it with your kids or career, but failing it in your partnerships. A lot of couples I work with are high achieving, so they're used to succeeding. So when they can't seem to get their marriage right, it feels like a failure. And number 5, you try to fix yourself or your partnership, but quickly fall back into old habits. So you might have read the books and listened to the podcast, but that connection still seems distant or non-existent. And this is because breaking free from stable misery, it requires more than just a shift in head knowledge.
All right, so we're almost out of time, but we want to get this one in. What are some COVID-friendly ways to strengthen your connection?
Absolutely. The first one is acknowledge that you're stuck. You got to name it to tame it. So now you have a name. Stable misery, right? The second one is get creative. I tell my clients, being in stable misery doesn't mean you're broken or your partner's broken, but you both got habits that need to be. So get out there. One thing my husband and I did, we found a video on YouTube on how to draw a flower, and we spent 2 hours talking about how mine looked better than his. And number 3, get help, right? If you can't get unstuck, bring in somebody with an objective professional opinion who can help you.
For sure. All right. That is great. Yeah. Great information.
Bring back the thrill and the romance. Well, thank you, Dr. Willis, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Still ahead, the biggest reason